welcome back to Cyberspace Investigations, Paladins, the deformed cousin of Overwatch. And when I say deformed, I mean deformed. Like, if anybody caught you playing this... Yeah, not a good look. But I did play this game, and for 7 hours in fact. The way I didn't go insane is astonishing, but let's talk about my experiences 7 hours deep in Paladins. Paladins is a very special kind of game. I mean, if you've ever looked at its character roster, which ranks over 70, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's not really any sort of balance to the game at all. It becomes a Smash Ultimate problem where you have 70 or more characters going at it. How do you balance that? Here, the answer is you don't. It's impossible. And if it is possible, it makes the game feel worse because all the characters have to kind of be at this same middling level. So, in the interest of making the game actually enjoyable, you have to overpower some characters over others. Now, that doesn't mean that some characters are impossible to play. Specifically in Paladins, every character is perfectly fine, and while some abilities are definitely better than others on some characters, you will find that each and every character is completely playable and completely able to win and fight against even technically superior characters. Take a character like Victor going up against a character like Rom. This is like a C or B tier Victor, which is basically Soldier 76, going up against Rom, which is basically Satan if Satan was cool and was super overpowered. And you can actually kill him, because there is still some balance, and if you're good enough at the game, and that's really the big part, is a lot of these certain, like, lists of characters that are better than others, while some are objectively there and actually better, most of them are made by people that the characters they can't play usually rank lower than the ones they can play. And this is how my main, Grok, or technically Grok, but Grok is so much better, actually ranks at a C tier level, while somebody like that I can't play at all ranks at a much, much higher level. So basically, let's talk about Grok, because I haven't played any other characters enough to give a proper in-depth analysis. So Grok is a healer with specific abilities that kind of make him equatable to Mercy from Overwatch. You have this beam that is electricity in this case, and instead of like having a health mode and a damage mode, instead it just damages people and heals people depending on who you're looking at. It feels a lot less clunky than having to switch between the two modes, or switch triggers if I remember correctly, to use the different modes. Instead, it feels a lot more intuitive rather than just a waste of time to have to switch triggers and remember which is which. This makes it so I can go from healing a teammate into fighting an enemy within seconds, and it feels great. And that's how you keep a lot of people alive and are able to survive as Grok, because honestly, while sometimes it does seem like he is invincible, you have to be with other players to actually get a grip on the character and not die immediately, because again, if you have more than one player coming after you, you're gonna die. One-on-ones don't necessarily go too well in this game either. Because of the specific imbalance in characters, you can actually have S-tier characters still outranked by somebody who's a lot weaker by technicality, and that makes the 1v1 duel much more one-sided than it would have been otherwise. But in the case of how you're kind of supposed to play, which is as a team and sticking together and as a one unit, you're going to get people down. It just really comes down to how many people you have on each side fighting against each other. If you have a 1v2, well, the side with two people's gonna win. And that one person better hightail it out of there, or they're not going to survive at all. And that's kind of one of the main things with Groke, is you have to be with other people to survive. Because if you're 1v1ing almost anyone, you're not gonna win. He's weak. He's weaker than you would think, given how people who actually play him, which is barely anybody, by the way. In all of the games I've played, I've seen 2 people play Groke, because he's probably considered not a great character. And so you do have this sort of divide between what you actually have to do and playing alone with no way of communication, where when you're playing with communication and friends and stuff, Groke can be super powerful, and because his healing is really powerful, which keeps other people alive, and then his damage isn't too bad. And then now, when he's alone, he just becomes this kind of mushy guy who dies immediately, almost, every single firefight. And so you really need that team effort to keep them together. Otherwise, there's going to be serious problems when you try to play him, and this is still a thing I'm trying to deal with as I learn the character a little more. In terms of maps, this is probably the weakest thing this game has going for it. There aren't very many maps. You will rotate between the same 3 or 4 so much, and because there aren't a lot of maps for specific specific modes, you'll be playing kind of the same maps. Like, you'll have a team deathmatch going up against on the same map you just played an escort mission. And by the way, these modes are the same as Overwatch, so going from Paladins to Overwatch, you'll probably feel right at home in terms of the just normal major objective of the game. However, the maps aren't, like, great by any means, especially this one deathmatch map that is just basically flat. Almost entirely flat. There's not much verticality. There's not really many side paths. It's almost just open area with cover, which might be great to some people, but to me, no. I can't deal with that at all. I'll need something better, but, you know, it is what it is. I mean, a few maps in a group of maps that are actually pretty decent overall isn't too bad. So we'll just say they're alright. In terms of modes, well, you can make custom games like in Overwatch, but they're not, like, crazy good. And specifically going into the built-in modes, you pretty much have about 2. You have the escort and the deathmatch, and they're different queues, so you can queue for, like, all of them, and it's just, you're doing the same thing a lot. It's like Overwatch, but, well, yeah, it's pretty much just Overwatch, but with a few less modes, which makes it, you know, a bit worse, because it's not, it is PvP, which is, it's PvP, which is, much more fun than you would actually think for the type of game it is. And yeah, there's really not much to say about modes. In terms of comparing it to Overwatch, well, this is where things get messy, because Paladins, I can feel the DMCAs from Blizzard coming in on them right now. Yeah, it probably slipped by some people's minds, not mine. This game is just Overwatch. There is almost nothing unique about it with the base cast of characters that you get for free right off the bat. You just see a lot of the same stuff all the time, and it becomes this just like, why can't I just play Overwatch? I mean, honestly, you know, I would be playing Overwatch, but I lost the disc, so I can't play Overwatch, because, you know, if you need something that's more of a sort of competitive type game, you know, this isn't it. this is way too unbalanced to be that, but Overwatch is, and because this game is so close to Overwatch, I can feel it grasping at something that just isn't there. And that's where the main problem with it all just comes straight into play, because you could really have a fantastic game here if they just let it be more balanced. But you know, they gotta make money, so they gotta add more characters, and it's something they couldn't avoid, but it just mars my enjoyment of the game. I would much rather be playing Overwatch if I knew where I could play Overwatch. But yeah, that's pretty much my experiences with Paladins, but what did I think of the game? So that was Paladins, but what is the final verdict on this mess of a game? Well, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Honestly, at first I wasn't sure because, you know, it had that kind of generic, free-to-play art style. Didn't really grab me, especially when I saw it just in the PlayStation Store before I actually was peer pressured to try it out because there were no other games for people who had just gotten a PS5. And now that I've actually played it and seen that it is Overwatch but extremely unbalanced, I can say that it is actually a fair experience that I'm willing to keep trying. 7 hours in, I would feel that another 7 would be more than justified as long as you have the people to play with or you care enough about the game to keep playing, to unlock more characters or skins or anything like that. But well, that's about all I have for this one, so see you guys next week for another great program.